The tall glass towers in Texas reflected a perfect image of success to the entire world. Inside those shiny walls, brilliant people walked fast and talked loudly about changing the future. They promised they were building a new kind of business that would make everyone incredibly rich and change the global economy. But behind the beautiful glass, a massive and terrible lie was growing in the dark. The illusion of endless wealth was carefully designed to fool everyone who looked at it. The name on the building was Enron. For many years, it was the brightest star in the American market. Ordinary people trusted this giant company with their entire life savings. Dedicated workers tied their whole futures to its rising stock, believing the company was a safe home for their money. They did not know the foundation beneath their feet was made of completely fake numbers and deeply hidden debts. The public saw a miracle, but the reality was a financial house of cards. When the brilliant lie finally broke open, it ruined thousands of innocent lives. Hard-working people lost their jobs and their dreams in a single brutal day. Their safe retirement accounts vanished into thin air like smoke, leaving families with absolutely nothing. Examining this terrible disaster shows us exactly how unchecked greed and dark secrets can destroy everything in their path. It is a story of how smart people use complicated math to steal from the working class. The long road to ruin begins with a man named Ken Lay. He built the energy company from the ground up with a massive world-changing dream. He wanted to change how the whole world bought and sold natural gas and electricity. He wanted to be the biggest, the smartest, and the best leader in the entire country. But that deep hunger for greatness slowly turned into a dangerous trap. The desire to be important blinded him to the basic rules of honest business. To make his grand vision look real on paper, the founder needed help. He found a man named Jeffrey Skilling. This new leader was sharp, fast, and completely obsessed with winning at any cost. He brought a dark new rule into the building. He taught the workers that they only needed to look smart on paper to make real money in the market. He believed that perception was more important than actual reality, and he demanded that everyone follow his lead. The new boss introduced a very dangerous way of doing the math. It was a special trick called mark-to-market accounting. In simple terms, they wrote down future profits on today's books. If they signed a new 10-year deal, they claimed millions in profit right away. They did this even if the actual deal lost money over the next 10 years. It was like a farmer counting the money for a crop before the seeds were even planted in the dirt. This accounting fraud acted just like a magic trick for the stock market. It made the company look incredibly rich and powerful to anyone reading the reports. The stock price went up and up, making everyone feel like a financial genius. But the real cash was completely missing from the bank. The business was actually bleeding money in the real world, while the paper records showed an endless ocean of wealth. The entire success story was just a phantom on a page. To hide the missing cash, the leaders built secret side companies. These hidden boxes were created just to hold all the ugly bad debt. The main company stayed clean and shiny for the public to see. The terrible numbers were just shoved into the dark, completely out of sight. It was a massive shell game played with billions of dollars. Whenever a project failed and lost money, they just hid the losses in a secret box and pretended it never happened. The executives could not do this alone. A giant and famous accounting firm named Arthur Andersen was supposed to check the math. They were the trusted guards meant to keep the market completely safe for regular investors, but the guards were getting paid millions of dollars in extra consulting fees by the very people they were supposed to watch closely. The massive piles of money made the watchdogs completely blind to the obvious crimes happening right in front of their faces. The shadow of that early ambition still shaped his choices. The trusted watchdogs chose to look the other way, ignoring the giant red flags. Arthur Andersen stamped the fake financial reports with their famous seal of approval. Investors saw that trusted name and believed the lies were absolute truth. The safety net that was supposed to protect the public was completely broken. The people who were paid to find the truth decided that the lie was much more profitable. Ordinary people bought the stock, feeling perfectly safe and secure in their choices. Teachers, factory workers, and firefighters put their hard-earned pension money into the shiny dream. The loyal workers inside the company were told to buy more stock too. They trusted their bosses completely, believing the company was a family. They had no idea they were walking blindly into a devastating financial trap. They were feeding their life savings into a machine that was secretly running on empty. The hunger for actual cash grew worse every single day. The executives desperately needed real money to keep the fake game going. They turned their greedy eyes to the state of California. The large state needed steady power to keep the lights on for millions of people. The company saw a perfect chance to squeeze them for every single penny. They realized they could control the flow of electricity and force the entire state to pay whatever price they demanded. Traders sitting at comfortable desks in Texas started playing cruel games with California's power grid. They created fake energy shortages out of thin air. They called power plants and told them to shut down on purpose. This made the price of electricity shoot up into the sky. They treated basic human needs like a giant casino game, betting on the dark. They joked on the phone while families miles away struggled to keep their homes warm and their food cold. The real-world results were completely devastating for normal people. Traffic lights went dark at busy intersections, causing dangerous accidents. Hospitals had to run on noisy backup generators just to keep sick patients alive. Small businesses lost everything as their power bills tripled in a matter of weeks. The traders laughed and made millions in bonuses while innocent people suffered in the rolling blackouts. The pain of the public was just another way to boost the fake numbers on the company books. But no lie, no matter how clever, can live forever. The giant pile of hidden debt was getting too heavy to hold up. The secret side companies started to leak bad news to the press. A few brave people inside the building saw the terrifying truth. They tried to warn the top bosses that the whole thing was going to crash down. They wrote urgent letters explaining that the accounting tricks were finally running out of room to hide. The urgent warnings were simply ignored or buried in locked drawers. The top leaders knew the bitter end was near. Jeffrey Skilling suddenly quit his job, telling the press he just needed more time with his family. Ken Lay stepped back into the top spot, telling the worried workers with a warm smile that the company was stronger than ever. He sent out friendly emails telling everyone to keep buying the stock, even as the walls were slowly caving in. Behind closed doors, the top leaders were panicking. They quietly sold off their own shares of stock as fast as they could. They walked away with hundreds of millions of dollars in cold cash. At the exact same time, they locked the employee retirement accounts. The regular workers could not sell a single share to save themselves. The captains of the sinking ship took all the lifeboats and locked the loyal crew in the bottom of the boat to drown. The terrible truth finally spilled out into the open light. The market saw the fake numbers and panicked. The stock price, which used to be worth nearly $90, fell right off a cliff. It dropped to just pennies in a matter of weeks. Over $74.5 billion in shareholder value was wiped out completely. The magic trick was completely over. The giant illusion shattered, leaving behind nothing but a massive pile of worthless paper and broken promises. The sudden collapse struck the city like a massive earthquake. The company filed for bankruptcy protection. In just a few days, over 4,000 loyal workers were locked out of their offices. They carried their personal belongings out to the street in small cardboard boxes. They lost their jobs, their health insurance, and their life savings all at the exact same time. The shiny glass towers were suddenly filled with tears, anger, and a deep sense of total betrayal. The quiet desperation of the victims fueled calls for strict justice. People who had worked hard for 20 years found their retirement accounts wiped out to zero. They had to sell their family homes just to survive. They had to sit down and tell their children they could not pay for college anymore. The emotional pain was deep, heavy, and permanent. The executives kept their massive mansions while the workers were left to pick up the broken pieces of their lives. The shockwave hit the entire country with massive force. The public realized that the rules meant absolutely nothing if the rule keepers were corrupt. The mighty firm of Arthur Andersen was dragged into a federal court. They were caught shredding literally tons of secret paper documents to hide their deep part in the massive crime. The very people paid to protect the truth were caught desperately trying to destroy the evidence before the police could walk through the front door. The giant accounting firm fell apart just like the energy company it protected. Tens of thousands of innocent workers at the accounting firm lost their jobs too. The trust in the entire stock market was deeply broken. People everywhere wondered how many other massive companies were just hiding bad math behind shiny glass doors. The entire financial system shook with fear, wondering if the whole market was just a giant illusion waiting to collapse on top of them. The government had to step in quickly to stop the bleeding. They wrote a massive new law to force large companies to tell the simple truth. This was called the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. It made strict new rules for corporate boards and accounting firms. It promised to send rich bosses straight to federal prison if they lied on their financial reports. The government wanted to make sure that no company could ever use fake math to steal from the public again. The powerful men who built the lie finally faced a judge and a jury. Ken Lay and Jeffrey Skilling were put on trial for their actions. The jury saw the fake deals, the hidden debt, and the ruined lives of the workers. Both men were found guilty of massive financial crimes. The slow arm of the law finally caught up with the grand illusion. The men who thought they were smarter than everyone else were finally exposed as common thieves. But the prison sentences could not bring back the lost years. They could not restore the stolen pension funds or fix the deeply broken trust. The story of this massive failure remains a dark warning for the modern market. It shows exactly what happens when extreme greed meets a blind system that refuses to ask the hard questions. The laws were changed, but the deep human cost of the massive fraud can never truly be erased or repaired. The name of that fallen company still echoes through empty trading floors today. It stands as a permanent reminder of how fast a giant paper empire can burn to the ground. When leaders care more about looking rich than being honest, the innocent always pay the terrible price. The market never forgets its deepest and most painful scars. The story remains a powerful lesson in exactly why truth matters more than any amount of money in the world.